Hello, this is JJ, back for the second video that contains predictive information from another source, not just astrology, but from a person who uses a particular methodology. Hi, I'm JJ from Paranormal Talks, paranormaltalks.com. We love to educate and inform and help you understand the paranormal, supernatural, and other woo-woo stuff that really impacts your life and you don't even know it. That's why there's such confusion, but we help with that. So this video, we're going to use the predictive content from Martin Armstrong of ArmstrongEconomics.com. Now, Martin Armstrong is a very interesting fellow. He has developed a computer system. It's taken him a lifetime to develop this computer system that predicts market trends with the economy, with business, with politics, with weather, with sports, and many other things. It's quite a computer system. It is so accurate that when he used it to make a prediction on Wall Street, since he comes from Wall Street, he is a fund manager, or was a fund manager and a trader on Wall Street. The entire market collapsed. This was in the late 1980s, 1988. And Wall Street blamed him. If he was able to do that, collapse the entire Wall Street, he's quite an awesome avatar on this planet. Of course, that's nonsense, but his system, his Socrates Computer system, which uses a very particular algorithm, is so accurate, an 85% accuracy rate. And he was making these predictions back in 1989. You can still see the original computer system he used to generate and calculate these particular economic events, since that's what he was doing at the time. Maybe not political and all that so much, but his computer system, not him, it's not about him, it's about what the computer system spits out based on Martin's programming of it over a lifetime. It predicted the oil crisis in the 70s. It predicted the rise and fall of gold in the 80s. It predicted the collapse of the banking system of Russia in 1998. It predicted the 2008 financial meltdown in the United States. It predicted the mortgage real estate crisis in the United States. And it predicts a lot more. It's highly, highly accurate. How did he develop this computer system, Socrates? Well, coins. Coins are the most accurate record of our world's history, with the images that are printed on it and the dates that are printed on it. He's a coin collector. Go figure. Yes, he's quite a coin collector. So he used those, and he also uses the element of pi, 3.14269987 pi, because pi, that mathematical number, actually tracks and plots the cycles of energy as it moves through a system. And when energy moves through a system, it creates waves. Whether it's light waves, whether it's waves of the ocean, as energy moves through water, it creates waves. And you can't stop that. That's natural, that's nature. You can't vote it away, you can't legislate it away. Cycles are what they are, of the universe, of nature. And sometimes humans don't like that, but that's just how it is. Anyway, Martin Armstrong's computer system, Socrates, is so accurate in predicting the market moves on Wall Street that he was actually put in jail by Goldman Sachs and a cousin of the Bush family, Judge Walker. You know, George W. Bush, that's George Walker Bush. Yes, he was put in jail for 12 years because he would not turn over the source code of his seminal computer system, this seminal work, a lifetime of work. No one has been able to duplicate it because it takes a lifetime to create one of these computer systems. And he did it using coins from around the world. It's not just for the United States. It's not just for Europe. It's not just for Africa. It is for the entire world. So it is massively complex. And only a computer system can calculate the trends and changes and cycles. Only a computer can do that. Not a person. Maybe a very, very good psychic, but a computer system has a much, much higher percentage of accuracy. 85%. You can't find that anyplace else. So the justice system put him in jail along with the help of Goldman Sachs, who wanted that source code. They did try to kill him, and he was in a coma for 3 days, near death. They didn't kill him. He came back, and now, you don't want to mess with him. He's a Scorpio, born November 1st, so you don't want to mess with a Scorpio. So he will have his revenge by making access to the Socrates system to other traders and investors. He's making it public. You simply have to buy a subscription. So they did put Martin Armstrong in jail, and they made a movie of him. And this is the movie, The Forecaster. You can find this on YouTube. It may be free now. And this movie was made by a German film production company. Even though Martin Armstrong is born and raised an American American film company would not touch this story, would not touch this script. Martin is in the movie. It is a documentary. And when the movie was made, it was not released or distributed in the United States. It does contain quite accurate, damning information on our politicians and on our bankers. And like I said in the first video, some of you may not want to hear this information because it can upset you, because it may challenge what you already believe, what you think you already know. And that's okay. And if that's what you like, then please turn off this video now, because it'll get worse. Okay, thank you. Now, those who remain, you want to really hear this. And I love doing these videos to put together all these predictive informations. That's really accurate. So that is what Martin Armstrong has done. And you can visit his website, armstrongeconomics.com. You can visit it every day. He has a blog where he talks about what's going on with the economy and politics. Highly accurate. I don't agree with everything, but that's okay. It's his accuracy is worth it. So he's quite a historian too. You know, when you're in jail for 12 years, you have a lot of time to study. I mean, you can get a couple of PhDs and a couple of master's degrees being in jail for 12 years. I mean, you're fed and clothed and all that on the taxpayer's dime. But he's an historian anyway. And when he was in there in jail, I think he was the librarian. Yeah, he kept all of those, all that information, all those access for the other inmates. By the way, he never was charged with a formal crime. Yeah, go figure. But that's how it is in this country. His case is not unusual, by the way. There's another gentleman, a very similar thing happened to him, who also spoke and delivered at Paranormal Talks, and his name is Greg Caton. That's C-A-T-O-N. He was also put in jail for upsetting the status quo. You know, it's illegal in this country to point out and to announce the criminal illegal activity of our government. Did you know that? Yeah. Okay. So this is history. Let me give you some history because this is rippling through our country also. What happened to Rome is also happening to us. What's happening in England right now will happen to us also. So we like to keep an eye on England, and we like to be aware of what really happened in Rome. So this is a chart, and these are from Martin Armstrong's site. This is what happened with the economy and the collapse of the money in Rome. And you see how it's going along just fine, and then suddenly, kaboom! It just fell. How come this camera isn't focusing very well? Piece of junk. You can go to his website and see this. But you can see, anyway, we are following the same cycle. We're not quite there yet. Where are we? We are around in here. I talked about the avalanche. We're just starting to feel it now. We don't know what's really coming, and it'll bury us and kill some of us, but it's on its way. So that's what happened in Rome. Now, there are cycles of these economic collapses. The rise and fall, the rise and fall. These are cycles that politicians, I don't care how much politicians promise you something, they cannot stop these cycles, whether it's an economic cycle or a business cycle or a political cycle or a religious cycle. Can't stop it. Okay? So these are the waves of the, who is this? Economic confidence model. He generates these economic confidence models. Here's one of them. You can see the rise and fall of the economy. It goes from the private sector, all the money goes to the private sector, and the cycle changes, and then all the money runs to the government sectors. That's where governments really grow and become really huge, with lots and lots of employees and lots of departments and divisions. That's one sample. Oh, here's the fall of the Minoan civilization, which was back in 2301 BC. He's plotted this cycle too for this particular civilization as well as ours. You can see how it rises and falls. It goes from the private sector, which is private corporations, citizens creating their own economy, and then it flips and it goes to the government, where the government will do everything for us. The government will feed us, it will clothe us, it will educate us, just like a good mommy and daddy. And then it's not able to do it because they run out of other people's money, and then it flips back to the private. So every civilization rises and falls. The Minoan civilization did, the Greek and Roman civilization did. Same cycle. The economy and politics go from public to private, public to private. And when I say private, I mean not governmental. Okay, and here's the final chart generated by Martin Armstrong's Socrates system. This is the real kicker, and this is highly accurate. With bigger type. You see these cycles? Okay. Remember what happened around October of 2016 in our country? Remember what happened? The elections? This is called a phase transition. A phase transition of pi, 3.1469822, okay? And then here's the next phase transition, is 2017. Every time there's a phase transition, there's a crisis, a big crisis. Whether you feel it or see it or not, it happens. Now look at this phase transition that will happen in January of 2020, and he actually gives the exact date. He gives it January 18. Remember the last video on astrology? The astrologers say with the transiting planets Saturn and Pluto in January of 2020. That's the Civil War, the Second American Civil War. So his graphs are very accurate. Go to his website and see how these phase transitions, every time the chart changes direction, we have a big crisis. So let me tell you, let me read for you a couple of things. One is the cycles of war that are increasing in this country. Oh, and I didn't print it for you in this graph. This one only goes to 2020, but there's another graph he has that shows another phase transition in the year 2032 for America, for our country. And the year 2032 is the beginning of the breakup of the United States as we know it. The country just breaks up. The government, the states, all of that, it's all munged up. And we will have a far different world in the year 2035, 2036, etc. So those two dates, January 2020, which astrology is already nailed down, and the year 2032, the breakup, the beginning of the dissolution, breakup of the United States, which will reconfigure itself into something else. In the astrology video, remember I talked about the planet Pluto, the planet of birth, transformation, death, and then rebirth. That's what this country is going through. And it's not very comfortable. But if you are prepared psychologically and emotionally, you will come out of it okay. And that's what these 6 videos are about. I love this. Okay, from Martin Armstrong's site, let me read for you what the astrologers have already been saying with the changes going on, the massive changes that we're coming into. Martin Armstrong says, you can feel it in the air, and yes, you can. We are heading into the collapse of government and a violent civil war because hatred is rising dramatically. And that's what his charts are showing with the phase transitions all the way through 2020 and 2032. The government is no longer capable of even functioning. The State of the Union was just an example. It did not matter what President Trump said. The Democrats will not break party rank, and will refuse to comply with anything. Now, some of these is Martin's opinion, but take it and consider it. The government never acted like this until Hillary lost. And I'm old, and I have to agree with that. Since I'm old, I've been through a lot of elections, and yeah, I've never seen this before either. Neither side will accept the election in 2020. Western society will crumble by 2032. That year is the year we begin the breakup of the United States as we know it, and it will be reconfigured into something else. Different government, different setup, different way of operating. There is no going back. That is, you can't vote this, you can't legislate this. This is the cycle that is upon us. So I'm helping you to be prepared. And if you don't want to hear this, please turn off the video because it gets worse. Okay? This is how all empires, nations, and city-states have collapsed throughout history. So we're nothing new or unique or special. The United States. The rule of law vanishes, and what emerges is just hatred. You know, the rule of law vanishes, and the monetary system vanishes and then is redone. The entire purpose of civilization is people coming together and working together for a common goal. We have lost all such common ground, and both extremes are demanding subjugation of their opponents. This is why revolution unfolds. Neither side is allowed to exist. One side must be killed. That's not what he said. That's what I said. That's my commentary. Each side demands the other conforms to their ideas. This is why direct taxation destroys all civilizations, for it allows one side to exploit the other. Here is one example of a person filled with hatred. Oh, I'm not going to read that part, okay? Because we get enough of that in our daily lives if we so choose. If we wear a Trump hat or something like that. Yeah, you'll hear about that. Okay, now the cycles of war. That is religious war. This is another thing that the Socrates system, not Martin Armstrong, not the person, but the computer system. This is what it has shown. Unfortunately, the cycle of religious tension is also due in the years 2021 and 2022. Probably more so for Europe right now than the United States. I mean, we're going to be having our own thing going on big time starting in January of 2022. So who needs more insult to injury? The first recorded persecution of Christians took place under Emperor Nero, who blamed them for setting the Great Fire in Rome. The base cycle on a major shift in religion turned up in the year 1990. And when he says base cycle, that's what I mentioned with phase transition, is the chart is going in one direction, then it changes and it goes down in another direction, changes and goes up in another direction. Every time it changes direction, that is a phase transition. That's a crisis point. So we had that crisis point starting in the year 1990. And this was a 224-year cycle of 8.6, which is it's derived from the pi number of 3.14, blah, blah, blah. So the computer system is quite precise. So it's a cycle of 8.6 from the year 24 AD. And then you add pi of 3.1, then you add the pi 31.4 years, and we arrive at the year 2022. So this is very technical. This is very numeric. This is very mathematical. And the universe is based on numbers, and we can't seem to stop those or change those. So just be prepared for it. Nevertheless, there was also rising tension with Islam itself. This I laid out in the 2015 Cycle of War report. He has these reports on his website on ArmstrongEconomics.com that you can buy, and you can get the full Monty of what is happening, the history behind it, to give you a track record of confidence that this works, and then what's coming up for us. When the economy turns down, that is when tensions rise. There was the religious war in Christianity known as the Byzantine iconoclasm, which existed between about 226 and 787 AD. The peak before the war came 72 cycles of 8.6 from the Nero persecution, which occurred in 64 AD. Then, 96 cycles later, we come to Martin Luther. Martin Luther, who started broke away from the status quo Catholic religion. Boy, did he pull down their shorts. Martin Luther in 1517, Martin Luther there, who hung out in Germany, when he posted 95 theses on the church door, the Catholic church doors, in the university town of Wittenberg. Cyclically, right on time, In 1534, King Henry VIII declared himself to be supreme head of the Church of England. This resulted in a schism with the papacy and began the events known as the English Reformation. It appears we are building towards 2021, 2022, when things are going to begin to get heated on a religious basis. So now you know what's coming up. You know the exact dates, you know the exact years. You have a little bit of time, so be prepared. So that is the predictive content for Martin Armstrong. His website, Armstrong, ArmstrongEconomics.com. You can see his stuff anytime. He has a great site. So that's it for now. I'm JJ from Paranormal Talks, and we'll see you for the third video containing other predictive content that further echoes what we've heard in these first two videos, the astrology and the Armstrong one. Okay? See ya. Bye.